Hi, this is Joe Rebello, and welcome to YouTube. And we're going to give you an exclusive YouTube segment talking about opposites and reverses and taking elements of the universal pattern, flipping them over, and showing you how to take some of the basic techniques you see and other techniques that are actually those techniques turned upside down. With me today is Mr. Mark Wolpert of EPACS. Again, for the education, perpetuation, advancement, and/or archiving of our Kenpo system. And with that, let's go into our technique for today. Come on over, Mark. Now, this actually stemmed off a phone conversation that Mark and I had, and we were talking about how certain techniques are the opposites, reverses, or in this case, taking the universal pattern, the upper portion of it, flipping it and inverting it, and that really is the true universal pattern. And seeing how one aspect on the inside of a right works as opposed to the outside of a left, and so forth and so on. We took a base technique, which is triggered salute. And Mark, what we're going to do, we're going to turn positions here. And in a ballpark, in a thumbnail sketch as we were of triggered salute, this is used against the front right hand direct push. Now, in actuality, it doesn't push upon the center of the chest. When we look at Mr. Parker's book, Infinite Insights into Kenpo, we see quadrants. And when I asked Mr. Parker, why did you pick quadrants? And he used to work as a butcher. And when he worked as a butcher, he had to separate the side of beef into quadrants for different cuts of beef. So this was one of the impetuses for this. Now, in the ancient times, we take the old idea, the samurai would wear their mon or crest over, and if someone didn't like it, it was a sign of insult, they'd cover it. So in this case, that's why it's going on the side here. So as he steps forward with his right foot, I'm going to step in. Now remember, in Kenpo, I'm going to step right against that leg. The joy I learned from Mr. Parker, he didn't walk to people, he walked through people. And he's going to step to it. We're going to step to 11 o'clock executing a horizontal heel palm on this plane, a linear movement. Then from there, I'm going to take a circular movement. I'm going to move from the outside of the limb inside in a buckling action. I'm not going to pull straight down because the body does not work on diagonals. So I'm going to utilize a diagonal hooking action, which is going to cause the arm to buckle. I'm worried about that headbutt. So as I utilize frictional pull off this action, I'm going to utilize a circular inward elbow. Now right from there, I'm going to bring my hand across my body for proper travel and execute an outward elbow. Note that my hand is in a vertical position. This is an example of a principle called the button and the lever. Here's the button, there's the lever, which is going to be an outward raking back knuckle. Not just a back knuckle, but allow the flexation of the wrist to capture, to catch and hook into the person's right kidney, rip and tear, and that should cause their body to arch, like that. There you go. Now, as he does that, as he laughs, now we execute the vertical back knuckle. If his head is turned to the side, of course, we hit him in the temple. If he looks at me, hi, Mark, pow, thanks. Okay, now I execute the vertical back knuckle, which drives his head back. With sequential flow, I can do this technique all over again. That's the beauty of the technique. Now, if we look at those actions, again, a linear motion on a horizontal plane. This action on this plane is a circular action moving from the outside inward toward the center line, striking through. Some people say that's inward, that's outward. It's moving on the outside of the arm and hooking to pull that arm in. Then from there, chambering, executing an inward elbow to the floating ribs, outward elbow on a linear plane, circular motion, which is the outward raking back knuckle to chamber position, and again, the vertical back knuckle thrust up under the chin or the temple, depending on the reactionary positioning of our opponent. Agreed, Mark? We're pretty good on that? Okay, so now, what's the opposite of right, Mark?
Left.
Left, really? My gosh, it's sweet too. Okay, what's the opposite of inside?
Outside.
No way. Twice on Sundays? Wow. Okay, so we're dealing with being on the inside of a right, so the opposite of that will be on the outside of a left. Now, there are three types of basic attacks we understand. And not in relation to individual categories, but basic overall principles, which is, as Mr. Parker would say, dead, semi-alive, and alive. Dead is a grab. Are you in pain?
No.
Are you being hurt?
No.
Are you in pain? Are you being hurt?
Nope.
No. Grabs are designed primarily for control and restraint. So the opposite of a semi-alive pushing action, he hasn't gone all the way to aggressive punch, is a dead attack. So going from alive or semi-alive, you know him, to dead. So in this case, he's going to do a front left hand wrist grab. Now, a lot of people consider these stupid attacks. They're not stupid attacks. Why? Because we've lost a little something. Ed Parker Jr. refers to this as passive Kenpo. Now, passive
Kenpo.
Get it? Got it? Good. So anyway, passive Kenpo is the understanding of some of the contact manipulation that we utilize in our Kenpo. In this case, now I showed you this attack earlier, he wants to go into captured leaves. He hasn't got my fingers, but he wants to bring my arm across, not use that other hand. That other hand wants to do something else. All right, so he's going to grab, he's going to bring his arm across, and he's going to fulcrum me. Hey, does that mean I don't have to use two hands to do captured leaves arm break? You bet. His other option is to move my arm to the outside and step underneath it. This is called going under the bridge. Gee, is this why we learn techniques such as locked wing and flight to freedom? You bet. Notice he used the second hand. He didn't have to. That's why we use one with the hand, the other hand on the shoulder when we're learning about flight to freedom. That's the key. But he's going to release and be a good boy and go back to where he started. Let's see if he... No, he's supposed to... So you have to learn about those opposites and reverses things, where you move underneath and come back and move around this way and go across here and go across there. He tries to choke me out. I throw him. That stuff. So anyway, so that's what he wants to do. So when he does that, here's where purposeful compliance goes in. I'm not going to fight this action, but I'm going to bring my hand underneath, and that's going to create a re-grab. Remember, when someone grabs you, you pin or re-grab. So when he starts to bring this across, I trap it. Wham! I hit the center line. Hey, his leg's forward here. Huh, that's interesting. When I strike here, now, as I move down on this circular plane, moving outward, I'm then going to do a right inward elbow, bringing the body across, right outward elbow. Now, with his leg there, can I execute my rear cross over my leg out? No, I can't. So that also dictates to us that his right foot's going to be forward. Why would his right foot be forward? Because he wants to step through it. Sorry, his left foot's going to be, yeah, I'm right. His right foot's going to be forward because he wants to step through with his left. We don't think about this when we're dealing with a dead attack, but in reality, if I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner and I'm here, I want this foot back. Why? So I can step through with this action, do this, and do this. That's why my foot's back. But we don't think about that. We don't realize that until we research it back. So now, what he's going to do, he's going to put his left foot back. He's going to have a right lead so he can step through with his left foot and do this. So I have to do two things. And back, I have to stop that from occurring, and I have to stop that from occurring. So as I start to feel it, I stop that foot before it comes through. And we're going to shuffle up a little bit here. Now I've got my inward elbow, my outward elbow, my rear crossover. Hey, his leg's back. Great. Now I can do this. My outward, downward, diagonal forearm strike. Now in reality, we can compound that with a reverse hammer fist into the forearm strike. But it really is a flexation of that radial bone striking the mastoid. Well, gee, it's Mark. So I'm going to execute the right hand push. He's going to pin, strike, scoop, strike, rake hit, pow. But I grab with my left hand. Now he takes his other hand, traps underneath. Hey, was that foot back? You bet it was. Why? Bang! And there you are. So now, because I started with a right lead, my left foot was back. It predetermined when I grabbed the hand on that last action, it then created the positional check. I trap underneath, get my re-grab, and now I can seamlessly, with continuity of motion and sequential flow, go from one into the other. Can we not?
And continue hitting gel.
Which is a fun thing to do. Everybody wants to do it. Or so I hear. But, again, this is Joe Ribello with Mark Walpa. And again, we want to talk about, again, EPACs. EPAC.com. Go to it. Also go to Kenpo-Cards.com. Check out more insights into the various techniques through the use of the Kenpo cards. And on that note, until next time.
Thank you, Joe.
Keep training.